Yeah, I got to get the left side fixed because you drive it with a uni deal, and you got to drive it like this, and then you got to drive it backwards because the left side, I don't know, it's weak or something. No, it's at least like I said. So I don't know if the seals are out of the motor or there's some kind of internal problem. I hate to replace the motor on one side, not the other, because then it's going to drive the other way. But I got a 9-inch, 8-foot postal digger with it for setting 4-inch posts. I know, a little bucket was brand new.
So there was a mini excavator sitting down the street. My middle one is out. You get that, I can help you. The only thing you're going to do is dig a hole for the fire.
The only thing that I think you don't ride on it. You have to walk behind it the whole time, which, when you get into bumpy terrain, can cause you problems because unlike the skid steer you're sitting in that you're moving with it, this is moving away from you and coming to you as you're trying to walk, so it gets a little...
All right, I have 7 o'clock. We will call the February 8th Shelby County Board meeting to order. We'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please. Dear Lord, thank you for the privilege to assemble here this evening in a safe and warm facility. I ask that everyone here be reminded of and humbled by the sacrifices made by others that allow us the freedom to gather and speak freely and openly as we work with our neighbors towards the betterment of our community. I ask that you watch over and remind us this evening and provide us guidance and strength to bury pride and surround ourselves with humility. As taught in Scripture, we should realize how dangerous pride is in the life of a believer and how important true godly humility is to the heart of God. Pride goes before destruction and haughty spirit before a fall. Keep us from falling prey to the temptations that pride scatters in our paths. As stated in Colossians 3:12-13, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if if any of you have a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Clark Hamlin. Mark Bennett.
Here.
Teresa Banks.
Here.
Cody Brandt. Tim Brown.
Here.
Carol Cole.
Here.
Julie Edwards.
Here. Excuse me.
Martha Fernhaber.
Here.
Clay Hardy.
Here.
Annette Martin.
Here.
Sean Martz.
Here.
Tad Mayhall.
Here.
Heath McCormick. Tim Morse.
Here.
Lori Nelson.
Here.
Bobby Orman.
Here.
Sonny Ross.
Here.
Mitchell Sheff. Don Tate.
Here.
Brent Wallace.
Here.
Jeremy Williams.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I don't think my microphone works, so just bear with me. Item 3 is discussion and vote to approve the minutes from January 11th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Lori. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Martha. Is there any discussion on the minutes from January 11th? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 4 is Highway Engineer Michael Tappendorf with a report and some action items. Michael, yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Just starting off, I'm just going to go through, and I'm actually going to start off with a little brag on my department. We've done a lot, I feel like, in the department in the last few months, especially in the last month, just internally within our department. So during the cold snap, we were able to do a lot of things actually internally, do a lot of maintenance on our own equipment. We've We've gotten everything ready for the next season of construction. We've also been doing a lot of other things inside, such as kind of renovating and doing some moving around and painting of the entire front office, just kind of making things look presentable and respectable. We've done a lot of other items that are such as fabricating signposts, which was a savings of $1,600. Instead of having to purchase these, we did some fabrication ourselves. Fabrication of a custom trailer hitch for the dump trucks. I feel like we saved thousands of dollars as well doing that. Completed safety trainings with my guys. We've done a Julie safety training. Some of my guys have done flagging, 10-hour OSHA. We've done a lot of other things. We've done patching on the Finley Road. We've got it up to the best condition that I feel like we can get it to until it can get reconstructed, hopefully within the next year or two. Hopefully the next year is ideal. There's been just many other items throughout the county that my team has done. My front office team has coordinated and supported a lot of material and bid lettings, digitizing our records, filing away of old records, coordination with all our township commissioners, lots of just other trainings. And that's just a little brag on just some of the things that we've done in the highway department. So I've got a very good team that I'm working with, and they all seem, I can't brag on them enough, they all seem to get along very well, and just very good group of guys. So thank you guys for that. So as far as other items, I would like to say that we are fully staffed and doing well there. Our Union Pacific Railroad crossings, and going into projects, I guess we have Union Pacific Railroad crossings. We're working on the design, working with consultants for design, and hopefully we are going to get some constructed here soon. Would like to say, we've kind of discussed in our committee meetings that I expect significant cost savings to the county of keeping that money internally. I hired a good group of guys that, once again, I can keep some of that work internally, doing some of the design in-house, and as well as doing some of the construction in-house. And that will save tens upon tens of thousands of dollars in keeping that money in that highway department and in the county. So our intent is to keep moving forward with those as well. We are working on the design currently of County Highway 3, which is east of Finley. Kind of talked about in the past, we're working on it and working on the design. IDOT's fiscal year starts June 1st, so I won't be able to start anything until June 1st. And as far as getting things out for bid and to be reconstructed, but we are pushing that envelope as fast as we can to get that reconstructed. That is a high priority in our department. We have multiple bridges. We have a bridge in Prairie Township that has been out to bid, and it will be reconstructed in hopefully starting in March or early this spring. We have two other bridges that are going out for bid, and one in March. One is set already and going in the process, and the other one hopefully 2 weeks after. They're right next to each other. They're both in the Oconee Township, the southwest part of the county. So those are moving and going forward, and we expect a good project there. We have reached out to, as far as other items, we've reached out to different dealers in the area for equipment, such as the grader that we've kind of talked about in the past at the last meeting. And we're getting some items trickling in here and there. Graders are kind of hard to come by, but we're getting some good leads. So hopefully we'll bring that to the next board meeting coming up soon. And there's a number of other items that we'll probably bring up at future board meetings, such as road use agreements to protect our roads from big developments and other things, but I might leave those for a future discussion, but just like to plant the seeds of something that's coming down the works. So with that, I'm going to move into the resolution Resolution to remove and replace existing structure 0873236, which is in Oconee Township. This is one of the bridges that I discussed earlier that's going to be constructed or this summer for bid letting in March. So it is an old structure that is currently out of service. If there's any questions, I would entertain them.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Motion made by Tim, seconded by Jeremy. Any discussions on the resolution for the bridge in Oconee?
What's the cost?
So there's two bridges. One I know has a cost of $435,000. The other is a little bit larger. I haven't seen the actual cost estimate recently, but I feel like I've seen a $620,000 cost to it, just going off of memory. So
This is not a small bridge.
these are, one's a 70-foot bridge and the other one is a 144-foot long bridge.
So are these is this resolution actually a obligation to spend the funds, or is it just an obligation to start the project?
This resolution is to be able to demolish that structure and to make room for the new structure. So the old structure, which is out of service, the planks are ripped up, nobody can cross it, it's not safe. This is a resolution as a formality through IDOT to remove that structure.
Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Next is resolution for approval of county engineer's salary for 2023 in the amount of $45,000. This is a formality to allow the MFT funds to pay for a portion of my salary, or pay for my salary for working for the last year. So this is another formality to use MFT funds and other funds that were allocated to pay for my salary. So that
Is there a motion for? Motion made by Tim, seconded by Clay. Discussion, questions?
Yeah, I guess just for clarification, we're putting money back in the account, or how's, it says 23, so logistics, I don't understand logistics.
Absolutely. So it's not putting money back in the account, but the resolution just wasn't put in order to be able to use the MFT funds, so it's now just kind of retroactively allowing the MFT, which it did, to pay for my salary. So it's a retroactive resolution. So as a formality through IDOT, this is an IDOT item.
And it's normal and customary for your salary to be paid through MFT funds, correct?
Yes, I'm the only one that can be paid.
Right, okay,
Yes.
that's what.
That's my question too. So, any other comments, questions of the board? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Babe,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Martha Fernhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy, Annette Martin,
Yes.
Sean Marks, Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Orman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next resolution, please.
Resolution for temporary speed limit sign to be placed on County Highway east of Findlay, or County Highway 3 east of Findlay due to condition of roadways. So east of County Highway 3, it is not in a great condition. As stated earlier, we are working on reconstructing the road. As soon as I can get it, if I could make it go faster, I would, but until that is able to be reconstructed, this is up for discussion. Typically, regulatory signs such as a red or a white sign need county approval because they are enforceable. So we're bringing this to the county for approval before we place these signs. So, and the whole reason, and it is a temporary stop or a speed limit sign is because of the condition of the road, just to make it safe.
Is there a motion on the resolution?
Got it.
Oh, we'll get to the discussion in a
I was
second.
going to ask a question.
Right.
Oh.
Tim Brown's got the motion. Is there a second? Mark's got the second. Now open up the floor for discussion and questions.
I was just gonna ask, is that a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and that's needed to get down to 30 because of the road?
Yes, I believe statutory is 55. I'm drawing blankets for sure 55 or 45, but I believe I feel like it is a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. Yes. So
How far east are you going to go with that?
So what we're going to do is start at the railroad tracks east of Finley, east toward the bridge, and we're going to omit the Finley Bridge for now because I cannot use this funding for the county highway bridge. It's not allowed through IDOT.
Right.
And then start on the east side of the bridge to the maintenance line that we have with Moultrie County to the east. So it's going to go all the way to good pavement again through Moultrie.
No, I just meant with the speed limit. How far out are you?
Oh, speed limit. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about that. I knew kind of where you were going with the whole maintenance.
Sure. So with the speed limit, I was going to put it probably just at our maintenance line with Moultrie County on the east side, and on the west side where basically we're just the limits of the project. It would be the same limits. On the west, it would be by the railroad tracks.
So all the way through Finley, all the way from the west side of Finley, all the way to the maintenance line.
I was thinking the east side of Finley, but that's up for discussion of what you guys.
I meant the west side of Finley. As you enter Finley, it becomes 30 mile an hour, and it's 30 all the way through Finley to the almost the cemetery now.
Okay.
So you're just going to extend that all the way out to the maintenance line.
Yeah.
With Moultrie County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, I didn't catch, are you going to take it from 55 to 30?
Yes.
And that is 55 out there too.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Hearing none.
I got one.
Sorry, Clay.
I'm just thinking as a guy that sometimes I'm in a hurry. 30 sounds kind of slow. Can it be 35 or a little faster? I mean, it sounds awful slow. That's a lot of miles.
I'm not opposed to. I mean, it's up for discussion. Yeah, whatever the county board would like for it to be. I have no opposition. Just slowing it down some would be beneficial.
Right. I understand. It's rough and it probably should be slowed down. But 30 sounds better.
And my feeling is, I live out there, so I travel that road. I'm the one that called you about the other day. But I think going all the way to the maintenance line on Moultrie County, you're all the way past the Wolf Creek turnoff and stuff. I think that's a long ways because most of that road is in decent shape until you get to about the Yanis Farm or there. I don't know if you know where that's at, but that's where it starts really to get the road starting to come up and stuff. So
Yeah.
I would be more in favor of seeing that 30 somewhere past the marina area, closer to Finley. So that people are not going to go 30 in there. They don't go through 30 through Finley, so they're not going to go 30 through there. But it does need to be slowed down a little bit with the loose gravel and whatnot. And your guys have done an excellent job out there. I want to go on record to say that they have done an excellent job with what they had to work with. So.
With that, I'd ask for if there was guidance from. So we would like to, the full county board like to do as discussed of stopping it at as you say at the farm as well as move to 35.
Mark?
I would say we should leave it somewhat open-ended for him to do as he sees fit. I mean, if he thinks he should go all the way to the bridge, I'm like Mr. Mars here. It's not bad the whole way, but only you're going to be the one that's going to be able to make that judgment call. I don't think we can because we haven't all ran now.
And the road can change too, because that's not that road's hasn't been really touched in a long, long time. And with this weather up and down, it can change. So I agree, giving him the flexibility to move it as he needs fit as the road conditions deteriorate until he gets it redone.
Okay.
So I don't know how you guys word that, but I mean that's.
I think we've given him our input and he can use his best judgment at this point.
Michael, you might want to consider making sure you come into where both lanes are in Shelby County, because that is the county line. So part of it's Moultrie County westbound and Shelby County eastbound.
Well, I'd like to coordinate with your office, I guess.
Okay.
It'd be a good idea. I'll coordinate with you.
Would you need to coordinate with the Moultrie County engineer to Are you saying that the north half may be different than the south half
And parts of it, yes.
jurisdictionally?
Yes.
We do I have maps that state where my maintenance lines do go, and I would definitely stay within where our maintenance is. So we should be able to place signage where our maintenance lines are, but I'd still definitely like to coordinate and make sure we're in the same boat, so.
Okay, so there's a motion for the resolution as written. Is there any amendments that we wish to imply?
Mr. Marks, would you like, you know the road actually better than I do, would you like to?
I would amend it to say, based on road deterioration, give him the authorization to move it as needed far within our jurisdictional boundaries to the maintenance line as being the farthest he could go, which would be the farthest he could go. So, does that make sense to everybody?
And any adjustments on the speed?
No, I'd leave it at 30 because it's pretty bad out there.
Okay.
I've seen about 3 vehicles in the last week get loose in that gravel. And there's people are crossing the center line to try to avoid all the bumps and that they fixed. So they're crossing the center line, and I've seen there's been almost several accidents out there. So I would agree with lowering it down to 30. I think it needs to be slowed down.
All right, so there's the amendment is to allow the engineer to have full judgment on where the speed zone needs to be. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mark seconds the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Mark?
I would like to say one other thing. As we come into the spring season and we have campers and people that are not familiar with the area, that was part of the reason that we suggested that lower the speed limit, because a lot of those people don't know the road near as well. It's seasonal traffic.
Any other comments, questions on the amendment?
Can the amendment say give the engineer discretion?
Yeah. Yes.
I agree with that.
So the amendment is to give the engineer discretion on the scope of the speed zone. Call it that. That's the amendment. Give the engineer discretion on the scope of the speed zone. Okay. Mark seconded the motion. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye on the amendment. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to back to the main motion, which was, the motion was made by Tim, seconded by Mark. So we will now go back to the original motion as amended to approve the temporary speed limit sign to be placed on County Highway 3. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I'll let you move on to the next resolutions.
Thank you. Resolution to award bids for hauling. We did receive bids for hauling of our aggregate for the next year. We had 1,000 tons that we were going to get hauled in. In majority, our maintenance crew is going to haul the majority of our rock, but there was some rock. It made more sense to have that hired out to avoid wear and tear on our truck. And costs are actually, it's cheaper for us to actually hire it out than it is for us to do our own hauling. So it made absolute sense in certain circumstances to do this. So with that, we have different groups. Group 1, which was a certain amount of hauling, was MCS Trucking. This is all on a bid tab that I can get anybody the information to. Group 2, item 1 was Coors Enterprises LLC, and Group 2, item 2 was also Coors. So if there's any questions in regards to any of that.
What was, let's put a motion on the table. Tim Brown makes a motion to award the bids for hauling. Is there a second? seconded by Martha. What were the actual bids by the ton, or however it works out for you? What were the actual numbers for those contractors?
Absolutely. So there was a bid, which is Group 1, hauling from the Nokomis Quarry. We have 200 ton, and it is being hauled at $6.98 per ton from Nokomis Quarry to stockpile. I believe that one's going to Fancher.
And the other groups?
Group 2, Item 1, hauling from Mid-Illinois Quarry, which is in Casey, Illinois, to Fancher, was $11.45 per ton. Group 2, Item 2, more hauling from Nokomis Quarry, 200 ton. It was $9.86 per ton.
So a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Babe,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Martha Fernhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Annette Martin,
Yes.
Sean Marks,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall, Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Wortman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next is the resolution for bids for culverts. You have the floor.
Thank you. So once again, this is being broke out into multiple groups. Contech Engineered Solutions is one supplier. They're doing Group 1. And then Metal Culverts is another supplier. They're doing Groups 2 and 3. If you'd like for me to read the numbers, I can go ahead and do that. So Group 1, which is being awarded to Contech, was for $9,740.80. This is for a number of different culverts that are all spiralized in aluminum, from 12-inch up to a 36-inch aluminum pipe, or a aluminized pipe. Group 2 is for Group 2 and 3, both the low bidder was Metal Culverts. Metal Culverts was $26,749.76 for Group 2, which was for riveted aluminum, pipe sizes 12-inch to 30-inch. And there is another Group 3, also went to Metal Culverts. It is riveted poly-coated. It is $5,217.
Is there a motion to award the bids for culverts? Tim Brown makes the motion. I got a second by John Tate. Any questions?
Just have one question. How many bids did you get?
The culverts, we just got 2. I sent this to as many people as I know to supply culverts, and these are the only 2 that submitted.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Babe,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole, Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Martha Fernhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Annette Martin,
Yes.
Sean Marks,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Wortman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next is the resolution to award bids for bituminous materials.
Thank you again. So this will go to Howe Paving. They were the only bidder. We did send this out to 4 different bidders. They were the only ones that returned the bid for the county. So instead, they had 3 different groups as well. The oil that is going to be furnished and applied on our furnished and applied on our roads. Which there's 2 different types of oil. One was $3.10 per gallon for a total of $167,400 in oil. Skipping to actual Group 3, which is a heavier oil, $4.41 per gallon for a total of $26,460. And there is a patch, M19 patch is what we call it. It is being supplied at $88 per ton for 400 tons, and that is $35,200.
Is there a motion for these materials? Tim Brown makes the motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Sean Marks. Any discussion? Questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bay,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Martha Sternhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Nat Martin,
Yes.
Sean Marks,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Workman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to bring to the attention?
I apologize, I didn't ask if anybody had any questions after my report. Was there anything that anybody had any questions about anything going on with our department or anything? So, okay, that is all. So,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Well done,
Thank you.
Michael.
Yes.
Item 5 on the agenda is discussion and vote to approve the use of $15,000 of ARPA funds to complete the funding of the sign-on bonus for the highway engineer. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Jeremy makes the motion. Tim Brown seconds the motion. The motion is to approve the 15,000 of ARPA funds. So this comes out of budget meeting last week. It was brought to my attention that there was never really any official board action to our knowledge that would dedicate 15,000 to the 30,000 of sign-on. There was 15,000 of retention, 30,000 of sign-on bonus. We funded part of the sign-on bonus, but not all of it through ARPA. So it was our suggestion to the full board that we approve the remainder officially in board action. So is there any questions or comments, discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
This has not been paid then at all? This 15,000 has not been paid and
Not
going to pay
to my
now out of
knowledge.
ARPA?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Part of the sign-on has.
Part of the
sign-on has.
Yeah, part of the sign-on has been, but it's in his contract that, it's actually in the contract that all of it would be paid through ARPA, but the board never acknowledged the expenditure besides the contract. So I was wanting to make the motion in a full board setting that would establish the remainder of the funds.
But my question is, you're not going to go backwards and put money back into an account and take money out of ARPA and refund an account that this 15,000 has already come out of? What I'm asking you, has this been paid out of any other account?
No,
That's all I wanted.
not this one. But part of it has, I think, but this part has not.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bay,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Martha Sternhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Nat Martin,
Yes.
Sean Marks,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Workman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 6 is discussion and vote to accept the bids submitted for sale of surplus vehicles from Sheriff's Office, Probation, and the dive team. Is there anybody like to make a motion on these bids? Julie makes a motion on the bids to accept them. Sonny seconds the bid, or seconds the motion. Any discussion on accepting the bids submitted? Was this discussed in public safety? Okay.
What were the bids? Did we get that in read ahead?
Do you want to know? Is that what you're asking?
I think
Yes,
the
please.
sheriff, we give it to the sheriff.
Sure, Pam.
The bid for the dive team truck, the high bid last night was $4,100 from Josh Ekus. However, he retracted his bid already. Second high bid on that one was $3,510 from a Zach Ballinger.
Hold on. We approved the high bid in public safety. If the high bid retracted, can we still approve the second high bid here? Or does that need to go back?
No, we can amend the approval as needed. So we can go back to what's presented, amend the bid to what was actually on file, so to speak, as of right now. So continue on with the numbers, please.
For the 2009 Chevy Impala, the high bid was $5,265 from an Angela Moore. On the 2010 Ford Explorer, high bid was $2,952 from Tim Baumgarten.
Okay, so I had a motion and a second to approve of the bid submitted. We need to make an amendment to approve of the runner-up for the dive truck, correct?
03 F-150? That's an 03 F-150, correct?
That is, yes, 2003 Ford F-150.
So Martha makes the motion to amend the bids as presented to the runner-up as presented. Is there a second on the motion? Mark seconds that motion. Is there any discussion on that amendment?
There's one more vehicle.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be the 2000 Chevy G3500 van, and the high bid on it was $1,000 from Clayton Carpenter.
Thank you. I thought there was three. I guess there's four.
No, there's four altogether.
Okay. So we have an amendment to the original presentation. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Can I have that dollar figure again for the runner-up F-150? What's that?
3510.
Excuse me.
3,510.
Oh,
That's correct.
thank you.
So on the amendment, roll call, please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Martha Fernhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Annette Martin,
Yes.
Sean Marks,
Yes.
Tad Mayhaw,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Orban,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Amendment passes. So next will be the resolution to accept the bids as amended. Is there any discussion on that?
I have one quick question. One of those bids was put in by, I think you said, a Mr. Baumgartner? Is that the same gentleman that works out of the highway department?
Yeah.
Is everything on the up and up and permissible with a county employee putting a bid in on that?
It's a sealed bid, and those bids were opened up in the public
A
safety.
sheriff's office employee cannot bid on a sheriff's office vehicle, but as far as I know, he can bid on it, yeah.
I can attest to Julie that they were all sealed. We opened them in the meeting,
So, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call again, please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
Yeah.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Martha Fernhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Annette Martin,
Yes.
Sean Marks,
Yes.
Tad Mayhaw,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Orman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, item 7 is discussion and vote to approve the dive resolution update. Is there a motion on the floor? Julie makes the motion. Is there a second? Tim seconds the motion. Any discussion on the dive resolution update? Tad?
Just due to the timeliness of receiving this, having a chance to go through it, make a motion to table this for further review.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Teresa. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Ayes. Raise your hand, please.
How about the nays, raise their hand?
Okay, nays, raise your hand, please.
Or, I mean, the table, raise your hand. That's either.
To table.
4, okay, 5, okay. Five to table.
So motion fails to table. Back to discussion of the main motion to approve the resolution. Is there any discussion? Ted?
Yeah, make a recommendation that we simply go line by line and discuss this. I mean, again, it was presented, I had some conversations today to include with the insurance company. And so there's a lot of considerations that might need to make some amendments to this.
Sure. So, anybody would like to start going through line by line?
You just need someone to read it line by line? You just...
Yeah, I mean, for any questions, I can skip all the way to 9, paragraph 9.
Okay.
That one?
Is that the last paragraph on the first page there, Ted?
It's very possible it is. I edited mine, so I would assume that that's probably true.
Yeah, I think so.
You have the floor.
Yep, so in that paragraph, the board, you know, the chairman with consent of the board can approve commander as well as the assistant commanders. Being a part of organizations in the past, I would think that if we're willing to appoint a commander, we would give that commander the ability to appoint his assistants, similar to what we do in other departments. That we wouldn't necessarily need full board approval for the assistants. If we appoint somebody in charge, we should give them that authority to do their own.
Was there a reason that the,
That was written that way?
yeah.
Absolutely. In typical emergency services organizations that I'm aware of or have been affiliated with, the complete leadership structure officer are appointed by the board that oversees them. The individual members that don't have leadership or officer type status are not appointed, but the officers are. That's why that's there. And it's also added in there that the board chairman would use consideration of the members, the volunteer members, and also accept advice from the Public Safety Committee, and then that would be brought to the whole board. So this is not a single person unilateral appointment. This is a comprehensive appointment based on the desires of the membership and recommendations of a committee, and then with advice and consent of the full board.
I'm taking note of the amendments here, so if you want to continue on, or have any more discussion on this particular point.
No, I think, but I mean, again, it was sent last minute, so I think there's a lot of discussion that has to take place, right? I mean, let me be very clear before we go any further, right? This is a very contentious issue that we're 7 months into. We have a potential path forward, right? So my intent to this is to possibly clean it up and make it something that could be workable, right? So we can move on and get emergency services back in the county, right? So it's not to completely dismantle this thing completely, right? But I did do a little bit of research. I've spent 7 months talking to people on this stuff, right? So I do have the intent of getting something workable going forward. So I don't want to be confused or thought of or twisted later on that that's not the intent here. So so moving on, I can skip the next paragraph unless somebody else had something else with the next one.
I have a comment about that paragraph, that if I read it right, tell me if I'm reading it right, that the dive commander and the assistant commander will be appointed by the county board chairman using consideration of the members of the Shelby County dive team. We don't have a dive team. So who on this board has the experience to try to appoint a dive commander that has ever done any of this work? Can anybody speak to that? I don't think anybody here has ever been on or been affiliated with this group of people, so I don't know how you think that you...
That's a mistaken response that is not true.
Okay, tell me what's not true.
I was on the dive team.
Okay.
And that language is written in there, Mr. Chairman, for the future. Obviously, there are not 15 members on that team now, but the concern the last time when we gutted this resolution, all of that language was removed to make this thing work, and that didn't work. So we have to have a path where we can appoint a commander. We want to consider the input from the members of the team as well as the Public Safety Committee, which is why that is written in there.
Does that answer your question?
I guess, but the other comment that I have is the resolution that this group came up with when we had our closed session and we came back into this room, I think was acceptable. The resolution itself, unless I'm wrong, the resolution was acceptable. What was not acceptable was the people who would be involved in it in the committee working with that dive team. So I don't understand why you think you have to change everything and not get the input. To me, this is the cart before the horse is what it is. If you want to sit down with a group of people and you want to put people back in the water, you need to sit down with them first and see who's even agreeable to even come back. This may keep anybody from even wanting to even consider coming back in the verbiage of the way this thing is written. I don't understand why people can't put their feelings aside and try to solve the issues that are there to try to get these people back to work, however it takes to get them back to work, is the way I feel about it.
Mr. Chairman.
Please, we're trying to conduct business here. We're trying to have a conversation. We don't need interruptions from the crowd. Tim.
Teresa, I'd like to point out that I communicated with Austin. I made it clear to Austin that I do not have the authority to call a special meeting. But I did propose, Austin, if you and the dive team would attend a special meeting where we have one agenda item, let's try to address and solve this dive team issue. I'll go to the chairman, I'll try to sell it, and maybe we can do this. And I asked, Austin, would you and the dive team cooperate and meet with us? Austin did not use the word no, but he did not agree to do that. So when you're talking like we are not willing to meet and we are not willing to sit down, I'm sorry, but I think it's the dive team that is unwilling to meet and unwilling to sit down with us. I can forward you the email. I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, to that point, I have that email and his follow-up response to that, and it was a little bit more cordial than that, to be fair to Austin.
But he did not
hold on.
agree.
It's my time, sir. Thank you. So he was much more cordial than what you're trying to put on here. And if you'd like, I can forward that response as well, because he did consult with me on this. And he is willing, but it was the stance of a special meeting to put taxpayer money at risk isn't necessary versus maybe a smaller committee, group of people, to come to a table to hammer something out that might be workable, that when we do come back together, it could be agreed upon. That's a little bit more representative of what he sent to you.
I don't know if that's going to accomplish, Tad. Let's get the full
My whole
board,
point to that was you were misrepresenting what he stated.
let's get the full board and the full dive team. Let's sit down and let's talk about it.
I won't disagree
And
with that,
Austin
and I don't know if it's the cart or the
You're
horse.
on him now.
And
It was still
Austin-
my time, he wasn't recognized. So, I'm
Okay.
sorry, JC is not a part of this, and I don't think you need to be swearing at her.
That wasn't a swear word.
Anyway, maybe this is a path forward, I don't know that. But we're gonna be here a little bit to hammer some of this out, right? And I'm okay with that, if that's what it takes to get there. But I think that we're past a point of misrepresenting what people are stating. But there's been enough of that. And I think that the pride piece has to be swallowed a little bit here.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, but I told Austin, and I believe this, I said, Austin, I think your objective is not to reactivate the dive team. I believe that your objective is to smear the county board, and I will stand by that statement. Thank you.
Well, with all due respect, I had a conversation with him today, and that is not his objective.
So moving on to the draft here, any other points we want to touch on?
Yeah. So, I guess so with the first one we talked about, again, I could skip, I guess, page 2, paragraph 1. I didn't have anything in that unless somebody else did.
Hearing none.
So with the next one, which talks about the training requirements, Emergency Response Diving International being listed as one. I believe the previous resolution had or equivalents, and it's also what the state policy also talks about equivalents, and it lists the equivalents here. And I think that would be fair to list what those equivalents are in here, right? So there's times that the standards from EDRI, which is the public safety arm, SDI, TDI, ERDI are apparently all from the same company. ERDI is just the public safety arm of that company. But there's a few others that probably should be listed since they are suitable equivalents to the standards, right? So the point to that would be is maybe there is somebody out there that's used one of these other recreational services that would apply. And I think we have to include those equivalents to not close the door on people that might already be certified, at least at the basic level.
So you don't want to minimize it to just the one organization, you want to open it up to all?
No, because the state doesn't either, right?
Okay.
The state doesn't do that. And it opens up to, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 plus then a caveat to that, it says approved by the Rescue Scuba Training Council, right? So it is a much longer list that would be much more inclusive. They could possibly open the door to other applicants.
So do you think adding the phrase or equivalent is enough, or do you think that they should be listed individually?
State guidelines recommend them, or have them listed individually.
Okay.
Which paragraph was that?
It would be 11.
Yeah, I probably should have numbered them. I didn't. My apologies.
Second one on the second page.
Yeah.
So the sentence should continue, Response Diving International Standards, it should continue with.
So I mean, if somebody wants to verbatim this or whatever, I wrote out a recommendation, which would say or equivalent, SDI, TDI.
Okay, sorry, Tab,
Yeah, so-
STI, TDI.
SDI, sorry, SDI, TDI.
Okay, SDI.
Dive Rescue International.
Okay, go ahead.
NAUI,
Okay,
PADI,
okay.
SSI,
Mm-hmm.
TMCA,
Okay.
IDEA,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, I wasn't just throwing idea, it really just says idea, PDIC, LACO,
Okay.
and others approved by the Recreational Scuba Training Council.
Scuba what?
Council.
Scuba Training Council.
Mr. Chairman, on that issue, I would defer to Ms. Martin with the statement before that the only reason that's in there is that is the standard as communicated from the former dive commander that he was training to. And so that was put in there to be in conjunction with what he was already doing. But if our resident dive expert could weigh in on these acronyms, thank you. I don't have a problem with them. It's
Just saying the equivalent or the equivalent would be sufficient, but I don't see any problem with putting all the acronyms in, you know, but it wouldn't be any different than just saying or the equivalent to.
Do you have a direct opposition to excluding the acronyms, or are you?
No, I'm just taking it from, again, the state standards. This is from the state standard. So all those were listed in the state's guidelines for the standards and training for basic dive teams.
Could we simply make that statement say, or equivalent as approved by Recreational Scuba Training Council? Is that a...
Well, the follow-on to that sentence says, and others approved by, right? So they, again, I don't know. I'm not an expert, right? I'm the most averse guy to water. I don't like water at all. So I don't know what all these things actually mean, but I felt if the state put them in here, that they meant something, so.
Let's just add them.
I'm fine with
Let's just
that.
add them and then they're there and.
I mean,
Well, when I added them to mine, it created an extra page if that helps.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I mean, it's just, the majority of people are PADI certified, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't either list them or just say the equivalent to, it means the same thing.
Is there an objection to listing them? Do you have an
I don't
objection?
have an objection, they're all like.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion.
Well, it's,
I would like to make an amendment to 11.
okay.
I would like to make the first sentence where the word standards stops, say or equivalent. Mr. Mayhall, if you'll make sure that my spelling is correct, the sentence will read standards or equivalent, SDI, TDI, is that one word? S2?
Those are all acronyms, yeah.
Dive Rescue International, and AUI, PADI, SSI, TMCA, IDEA, PDIC, LACL, and others approved by Recreational Scuba Training Council.
Yes, I'm sorry, the LAC.
LACL?
Oh.
LACO.
Yep.
Okay. And others as approved by Recreational Scuba Training Council. Okay. Can I get a second to that, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, so the amendment is what he just rattled off. There's a second by Julie. Any discussion on the amendment? We've had a lot of discussion already. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries on the amendment. So moving on, that I'll return the floor to you.
Thank you. So with training, again, the paragraph is very long. and it says all training must come through the board for changes, right? So if there was training scheduled tomorrow and something changed that event, the board doesn't have time to approve a change to that, correct? It just seems restrictive to not allow for the commander to make a decision that weather conditions or whatever change a training event.
Right.
Can I answer that?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So to answer your question, I think is the language is restrictive and would not allow any flexibility for seasonal or other types of changes, be that pop-up trainings or something at another facility. So there has to be some structure to the training regimen. It needs to be an annual report that is produced one time and approved by the public safety, so that the public safety is reviewing those documents and acknowledging that the training objective, the public purpose, and the procedure used to objectively assess is being met. Now, down at the bottom, there's an if. And I'll note that that training regimen only needs to go before the Public Safety Committee. It does not need to come before the full board. The if says if conditions arise that require a change in the training schedule, or conditions arise that indicate a change in the training schedule would be more beneficial to the Shelby County dive team, the commander will communicate those needs and request the change to either the Public Safety Committee chairman, not the committee or the board. If the Public Safety Chairman is unavailable, the needs and requests for training change can be made directly to the County Board Chairman. So that's two people in chairman seats that can provide oversight to verify and acknowledge that there is a need for change of venue, whether that's a change of venue or a change of the training entirely, and allow that commander the freedom and movement that he or she would need to provide the best training for the team. So that is in there to allow that.
So the way I understand it is the training schedule would have a structure to it with the flexibility built in that if something needs to be changed for the safety of the team, perhaps, for example, that is written into that paragraph. So is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Correct, and it's less about the safety of the team, because this issue is less about the safety of the team. Not that the safety of the team is unimportant. This issue is more about, Mr. March can attest to this, Ms. Edwards can attest to this, that when you're dealing with continuing education training, certain things pop up. There's certain trainings that become available that when the original training schedule was released were not available, and they just happen. In the case of a dive team, there may be something that arises, a unique situation that they would want to go, and instead of doing this thing in-house that they had planned to do, it's far more beneficial to go out and do this other thing. And so as long as it meets the three criteria, there should be no reason that they cannot go and do that thing. And then that provides sort of a backstop for the commander that, you know, hey, this was approved, we're here, we were approved to do this, we were approved to make this change, and shouldn't cause any issues.
Does that still raise concern on your?
No, I mean, to be fair, I did highlighted from the comment of if, right? So that's actually where it came from. Up to that, no, I don't disagree that there needs to be a training schedule. I think that there was with the previous team, but they had a training schedule that was laid out by the fall of every year, and it was published for that. So none of that was the issue. It was just that last part of it is does that present a restriction if there's something sudden change, right? So either chairman's out of pocket and something happens, right? Something need to make a change. How does that get changed?
Well, I mean, if if it would suffice that you add the vice chairman or of the public safety or the vice chairman of the board, I mean, we're upping it to 4. I mean, there has to be, in order for the proper protection of the dive commander, there has to be approval of training. It just has to be there. And if there are 4 allowable people to contact and communicate that need with, I mean, this isn't a this isn't a restriction to be unrealistic or restrictive. This is simply we're going to communicate this need with someone else and have some input. That's all.
That's fine. Again, I'm just looking for open dialogue.
And again, that language is nothing uncustomary to what you see in every other emergency services that I have ever been a part of.
I have Martha here.
Just a question to the comment about being out of pocket. A change in a training or an additional training isn't something that typically happens within hours of notice, right? It's like somebody puts a new training out there, you know, a few days to a few weeks, maybe even a couple of months in advance. So if it wouldn't be normal and customary for this need to adjust a training schedule to be a matter of minutes or hours, would it?
I mean, I don't know that I could give you a scenario where that's the case. I mean, there's going to be some, you know, in the cases of these pop-up trainings, those trainings are a week in advance or 10 days in advance. If there's a sudden shift in weather, you're going to have at least 10 or 15 hours notice, or you should. I mean, I think it's reasonable, and I think Mr. Mayhall agrees with me that it's reasonable to have structure. I know from emergency services that is reasonable to allow flexibility, and I think with 2 people from the board, and if Mr. Mayhall feels it's important enough, I don't disagree that we can add the can't think of that other word. Not
Vice chair.
Vice chair, thank you. We can add the vice chair of those 2 committees. That raises it to 4.
I'd suggest just 3. So you have the chair of the committee, chair of the board, vice chair of the board. There really is no vice chair of the committee.
Is that an official amendment to paragraph 12? Yes, sir?
What we do in EMS is we have to submit training synopsis to the Illinois State Department of Public Health and our region for EMS training for the whole year. But we do have the ability at the bottom to say, in place of one of these trainings, we may do one of these other trainings. And I list sometimes 4 or 5 other trainings, what the requirements of those trainings will be, so that if something happens and I want to say, okay, instead of doing bloodborne pathogens this month, we're going to go do trauma training. We can do that. We can substitute those trainings in. What I would recommend to the commander of the dive team or whoever puts their training together is to list some optional trainings that may come up from time to time that they want to do a substitute, and get that approved in ahead of time so that they can. So let's just say we're getting 5 inches of rain and they want to go, instead of doing equipment maintenance this month or scuba gear, whatever, they want to go out and do swiftwater rescue. Have that listed in advance, and then they can just substitute that in there. And then really it alleviates the need for running out and calling people to get this. I mean, I think there's an easy way around it. I don't think it's as restrictive as it needs to be. I think if there was some thought put into the training plan, that could be done. And I think it could move us along, and we could get this all put behind us. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
So does the language as written permit all what Mr. March just alluded to?
I don't see anything that would limit that in this language.
Just says a yearly training plan. But
it just says an annual training plan. Yeah,
he could submit 15 months or 18 months worth of training, he's just gonna do that training in the year.
And I don't see, if that's training that's been approved by the Public Safety Committee, I don't see any reason why that training can't be subtracted and moved around like that. I don't see why this is restrictive and wouldn't allow that.
I mean, that's just my thought.
Yeah, no, and I would go back to you then, I guess, with any of that, then would that language restrict you from pulling from your bottom?
No.
6?
It never does. The Illinois Department of Public Health or our resource hospitals have never said, oh, you can't substitute hazmat awareness instead of bloodborne pathogens or whatever. I mean, there are some mandatory trainings that have to be done every year, but I'm sure it's the same thing with dive rescue. I haven't been on a dive team in years, but I would think you could build that in, and it could be, there's a way to work around it, I think, other than, I don't think it's as restrictive as everybody thinks it is, because you think it's, 12 months and we're only going to put 12 trainings on there. You could put 18 trainings on there. You're just going to do that many trainings in a 12-month period.
Okay. So
of those subjects, and you could repeat subjects too if you want to. They can train 100 times a year. I mean, more training the better, in my opinion.
So we're amicable to the language as written?
Yeah, so with the point that he made, that if they can build in 18 items, 6 are flex, that would be fine. As long as there's a caveat that they don't need to make a phone call to make that change.
And then adding the vice chair of the board, is that?
I mean, with this flexibility, I'm not sure
You don't
can,
think
right?
it needs to be done?
No, I mean, as long as that's something that can be worked.
Okay.
Again, I don't know. I'm just asking questions. I'm not a dive team member.
Mark.
With what Mr. March said, he was talking about scheduling various days. He wasn't referring to moving it a few hours or a day later. He was basically addressing scheduled trainings and going to a different training instead of doing the one he was going to do. It wasn't about adjusting, because the storm's coming through at 9 o'clock in the morning, we're going to adjust it to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was the scenario that I caught from Tad, that he was talking about rescheduling the time of the day. And I believe that's what this is about.
Our typical training is, in January we're going to do this, February we're going to do this, March we're going to do this, and we list a month, and these are the trainings we're going to do. And then at the end, I list 6 alternate trainings that I can substitute into any one of those months, or I can substitute all 6 of them into 6 of those months. It just gives me the flexibility that if I want to do something else, that something came up, like live wire training or whatever, with my EMS personnel, I can do that without having to go back to IDPH or the resource hospital to get permission. It gives me flexibility into my training.
And just to piggyback on Mr. Bennett's statement, the language of having the ability to call the chairman for a change, that can be, and that's additional flexibility for a time, for a venue. You know, if 18 are baked into the annual training and then this other thing shows up, they still have the flexibility to call the chairman and say, this isn't 1 through 18, but we really need this. Okay, this meets the public purpose, this checks all the boxes, do it. So I feel like it's about as flexible as it can be with having, while maintaining structure.
Okay. Moving on. Tab.
I don't have anything in 13 necessarily. And then 14, so I did speak to Mr. Smith today with Gallagher, who then he had to call me back. He said that you spoke to Rich, is it Deluska? I don't want to mispronounce the name. So we discussed a little bit about workman's comp, right, which it boils down to workman's comp. Are they protected, right, from those things? And I asked a lot of questions because I pulled up the workman's comp statute and I didn't have time to read that today. It's a little bit big. So basically, the difference is he discussed with me fire, police, civil defense, those things are listed, right? So potential for workman's comp for a dive team might be a little bit different. So we had a discussion about payment, and the discussion about payment, does payment help with that? He said, really payment's not necessary for them to be covered. Payment would assure them to be covered. right? It would pay, which led to the conversation of the language here, which is reimbursement. So reimbursement not being payment, and again, I'm not an expert, but reimbursement not being a payment per se may be language that voids everything we're trying to do here. And so, you know, I know some of the districts pay per meeting attendance, pay per call. Based on the discussion and my understanding, removing reimbursement and just calling it payment, right? Payment X number of dollars per call would eliminate any potential conflict of a reimbursement voiding workman's comp.
Sean?
You know, I was watching the Public Safety Committee meeting, and there was some good discussion in there about how many calls and $20 a call. Do we know that if we, instead of paying them $20 per call, if we did like our fire department does, they pay them per training. So they do X amount of dollars per training, and that way they know, and if they do more than one training in a month, they just get paid one fee for that month. And that way that's a set amount every year that they know what that amount's going to be. Sonny, do you know if that would suffice with the insurance company?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So to Mr. March's question, the amount of money, the number of times can lead to a budgetary crunch on a department that already doesn't have a very big budget. So we were trying to be conscious of that and still meeting the prong of a paid volunteer versus an unpaid volunteer. As Mr. Mayhall stated correctly, I have spoke to Rich. I did speak to Rich today. We arrived at $20 simply because of things in my own personal experience of what I am paid for different things, and we landed somewhere that we felt like the budget could handle and was not $1 a call or $2 a call or $10 a call, but was a number that realistically, and the reason, I'll address Mr. Mayhall, the reason that it was defined as reimbursement for expenses, that was the language that I got from him. Now, if that language is an error and the treasurer does not believe there's a problem if we strike the word reimbursement, I don't have a problem doing that. I don't have a problem striking the word reimbursement. I think that's fair and reasonable. Every conversation that I have had has always been, if they're not paid, they're an unpaid volunteer, which means they're an independent contractor. And if you're an independent contractor, you're only covered by your own workers' compensation. And I think that we would be very remiss if we failed to cover them under workers' compensation. And I would be incredibly disheartened if the word reimburse caused an issue with that. That's the purpose of that paragraph. I'm not going to argue or disagree with Mr. Mayhall if the word reimbursement needs to be stricken to ensure that that does what it's meant to do, by all means.
I have a question about, well, it's just this discussion about reimbursement also for tax purposes. Would that be considered non-taxable since it's a reimbursement? I'm wondering.
If it is a reimbursement, perhaps it could be considered, and maybe that was a poor choice of an adjective per conversation.
Maybe it is the right word to use.
So per the
good question.
treasurer, we had conversations about this, and there was conversations of W-2s, W-4s, being a biannual payment. Based on the 911 data that I have, the average, now I understand averages have peaks and valleys. The average was 10 calls a year. There were 15 on the roster. The roster has 17 slots. So 17 times 20 times 10 is $3,000. Per member, that's a couple $100. So it's not a large amount of money to squabble about for anybody, and I certainly do not want to have a word in there that alters it into the realm of not doing what it's there to do. So
right now, the language reads that the volunteer will have a reimbursement of $20. Should it just read volunteer will have a payment of $20? Just simple payment.
So per call, or even to Mr. March's point, is the qualification of training payments, paid for training. So the whole point of being workman's comp. So again, I'm not an expert, so most of this is just a question. I don't know if the activation of call, so you're telling me that your guys are protected by the payment via training payments. So you talk about budgetary, that's more predictable, right? So it's much more predictable because you know how many trainings we have in a year because we just outlined that in paragraph 12. And so you attend the training, you're compensated quarterly, whatever happens, every 6 months for that. Does that then protect from workman's comp? Sounds like it does. And you actually have a consistent payment through the year from a budgetary standpoint, so we're not dealing with peaks and valleys.
So unless I absolutely heard him in error, I spoke directly to that. Should they be paid for trainings or should they be paid for call-outs? And the language that was expressed to me was that the call-outs are when the service occurs. The training is when they're training to provide the service. So as long as they were paid for the service they were providing via the call-out, then, because quite frankly, if it was in the budget, I'm okay to pay them both. That way we make sure it's right. But he expressed to me that he was confident in that if they were paid per call out, that sufficed and the training pay was not necessary, which is why that last sentence in there was not required to pay for training, since the training is technically required. I know some departments that have training that is not required, they incentivize the members to attend with payment. Other departments where continuing education is required, which is what I'm aware a dive team is, they are required to have continuing ed. Payment for reimbursement or payment for training does not exist. That's just my personal experience, but I have no issue with removing the word reimbursement and calling it a payment. And quite frankly, if you want to change it to include training exercises, I'm not going to squabble over that issue either. It's definitely going to increase that budgetary amount. I will raise an objection to removing the language to pay for call-outs, though. I would raise an objection to switching it. I would not raise an objection if you want to add the training, but I will raise an objection if you want to remove the language for payout for call-outs.
I didn't have an objection either. It's a conversation of trying to understand what actually puts coverage against the people doing the work. So, and I'm not sure I still hear a definitive answer that a call-out covers them during the call, but now are they covered during the training? Because it sounded like you were somewhat questionable yourself.
No, I wasn't questionable. He said it wasn't required, that they would be covered during training so long as they were paid for their call-outs. They're being paid for call-outs, which is the services that they're rendering, and then when they're training, they're covered, even though they're not being compensated for that training. That was a specific question that I directly asked.
Mark.
As Annette said, the difference between reimbursement and a payment, and for each person to decide on their own. The reimbursement is to pay back expenses. A payment is a payment for doing a job. Now, how that falls under what we need for insurance, I'm not exactly aware of, but there are times in taxes, if you receive a payment, you have to claim it as income.
Right.
Reimbursement is to reimburse someone for expenses they have already incurred. And it's non-taxable because they use the money out of their own pocket to pay for an expense, and you're reimbursing them for those expenses.
Yeah, but what money are they taking out of their own pocket?
Well, in this case, it would be something such as the gas they're using.
Wear and tear on their vehicle.
Yes, and that's what it says in here, lodge or travel expenses.
But I think we're kind of getting off topic. We're trying to stay in the realm of what's going to make sure that our employees or that our volunteers are covered. I mean, the other is fortunate, unfortunate, whatever, but we've got to focus on what will keep them covered with insurance. And if the word payment is a definitive, then I would imagine we should probably go with payment, strike reimbursement.
What if you turn the, I'm
Unless
sorry,
somebody has a different opinion on that.
Mark?
What if you took the words and reversed them? Reimbursement, payment.
That is how it's listed.
That's how it's listed right now.
I thought it said payment, reimbursement.
It's reimbursement payment.
No, it
Payment
says,
reimbursement.
it says payment reimbursement, but I think it would mean the same thing regardless of how it's.
It's actually listed both ways. It's both ways.
First line, it says payment reimbursement. First sentence, yeah, so it's, it says it both ways.
Yeah, I see what
So just remove the word reimbursement.
Yeah.
Martha?
Sonny, did Rich make a specific comment to you in regards to the word reimbursement being there or not being there? Do you have any concerns with striking that word based on your conversations with Rich?
There was conversation about that, and to be honest with you, with me, he interchanged the word reimbursement and payment, and referred to it as a reimbursement payment for the expenses that they incurred. That language is directly from some of the conversation that I had with him on the issue.
So if we keep reimbursement payment in there, if I'm hearing this correctly, they're going to be able to avoid being taxed on it, but if we take out reimbursement and solely use the word payment, they're going to have a tax liability. Is that, am I hearing that correctly?
You get paid, you don't have to pay that.
If it's a reimbursement though, for what Mark just read, you shouldn't have to. So why I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of striking the word reimbursement, because now we're asking them to incur a tax liability, and I don't know that that would be our intent. Our intent is to get them covered under the workers' compensation. And if the term reimbursement payment is enough to get them to be considered a paid volunteer and coverage, I say we leave it in there.
I agree.
What?
I just got a statement and then a question. I want to thank everybody who's been working on this, because I know you worked out hard. We want to get this situation taken care of. We all want that. But I like to get things done. Sometimes, you know, you get like we call them cowboys. You want to get stuff done, and you go at it real hard, and you mess stuff up on the way. The same thing happened to us in the Road and Bridge Committee. We had a guy come in, and it was supposed to be sealed bid, and one guy shows up, and he wants to buy the track hoe, and he offers $20,000, and then Mark says, we can't do that, it's not a sealed bid. And at first I wanted to, I thought, oh man, what are we going to go through this for? He said, we can't do this is illegal. And so we held it off, and so this week we tried it again. I drove in, and there was cars all over the trucks, and there was at least a dozen bids And so instead of $20,000, we got $45,000. We got 25,000 more. So I was in a hurry. I wanted to get this done. And I wanted to kick Mark under the table for stopping it. But I think sometimes we can get in too much of a hurry here. And I don't know if going through all this right now in this meeting, it should be done in committee. And I appreciate what you guys have done. I know you're trying hard and we want to fix it. But maybe we need to talk to the people, that, if we can, that this might affect. Is this going? And the next question I want to ask: is this going to affect the? Will this affect the rescue squad? Will it at all? Is this affect?
No, they'll die.
Well, I just I want to get this said and done too. I just don't know. I want to make sure we're doing it right and we don't just have more hurt feelings and more people complaining. So, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, can I request a 10-minute recess?
Want to make a motion on that?
I make a motion we recess for 10 minutes, please.
Second.
We'll recess the meeting till 8:40. Okay, I have 8:40. We'll resume the recessed meeting. That was recessed at 8:39, or 8:29, sorry. We will continue with discussion where we left off, and we were discussing the terms of reimbursement or payment.
We were discussing paragraph 14. Mr. Mayhaw and I conferred with Rich, and I would make a motion to amend paragraph 14 to strike the word reimbursement, make the word say payment in the first sentence. In the second sentence, I would move to strike reimbursement for expenses. In the third sentence, I would strike the word no reimbursement for expenses and add a payment of $10 paid to the individual members for training. So that word will include a payment of $10 for training exercises, whether member attendance is mandatory, optional, or volunteer. We'll have a payment of $10 paid to the individual members. Like a second.
Second by Lori. Any discussion on the matter?
Can I just ask you to read that?
Absolutely. I'll be happy to. Each member of the Shelby County Dive Team will receive a payment. I'm going to read it how it will be. Okay, sorry. Each member of the Shelby County Dive Team will receive a payment to assist the members in covering some of their expenses incurred while acting in their role as a member of the Shelby County Dive Team. The amount of this payment is set at $20 per member per call out where aid or services by the team are rendered. Training exercises, whether member attendance is mandatory, optional, or volunteer, will have a payment of $10 paid to the individual members. Mr. Mayhaw?
Yeah, so we did call the insurance company there, and he made it clear that the removal of reimbursement would be a significant factor in making sure they're protected. In addition, paid training to ensure they are protected for that training is also necessary to make sure that they're protected. So he didn't indicate that they would deny the claim, but he said it would take a lot of barriers out of the way.
Okay, I had, never mind. Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Amendment carries. We want to continue on through the draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the finish line, man. All right, 15.
Mr. Mayhaw, could you give me a moment, please?
I think he's typing in the changes.
Okay, go ahead.
So 15, I guess I'll just start with, can somebody give me the scope or the purpose of that paragraph?
I'd be happy to. So there's been a lot of ado about the legality, the authority, the power, whatever word you want to use, that there was a significant issue and the dive team was stood down. Who had that power? Who had that authority? Who had that right? Did it lie in one person's hand? Did it lie in 3 people's hands? Did it lie in 5 people's hands? So what this does is it requires the involvement of literally everybody it involves. The commander, the chairman, the county board chairman, legal counsel, and then if that emergency by those 4 individuals arises to the level that something has to be done, that the dive team has to cease all operations, that directive will have to come back to the full board and receive a majority vote before that can happen. And so the question of who has the power, who can do what, is nailed down and decided.
Martha?
On the part about majority vote of the board, do you mean a majority vote of those in attendance at that particular meeting, or did you mean majority vote of the full board?
It just says majority vote. I mean, I don't know that.
I just want to ask now if that needs to be clarified, so
Maybe,
it's not an issue ever in the.
you know, maybe the clerk can help here with this. I'm just thinking that there would be a quorum for the county board to have an emergency meeting and the members present, majority vote, a simple majority vote to do that. Of course, there's going to be all of the reasons, all of that's going to be brought to the board, and then the board's going to decide. So is that language not correct, or is that?
I mean, if there's a majority of your board present, it makes sense to me that a majority of those present voting.
You have a quorum.
Right.
You have a voting body. Jeremy, got it? All right. Go ahead.
Yep. So in that paragraph, the sentence beginning, the power to suspend operations. As I read that, the dive team is on a call. And health, safety, welfare, right? It's a risky job, right? It makes it sound as if they have to get approval, or that the authority of this board is to tell them that they stop. It's muddy wording. It's not. I don't understand like that from the power all the way to the end of what the intent of that's supposed to be, because it doesn't define if there's an insurance issue, right? It says during operations, and if they're on a call, I consider that to be on operation.
Right. So actually, this language would stop the public safety chairman or the county board chairman from walking up on an emergency scene and telling them what to do. They don't have the authority to do that. Neither one of them would. The only way that they could stop any of that emergency activity, that active call that's going on, the only way that any of that can be stopped is with the majority vote of the county board. That prohibits that very scenario that you're asking about.
Martha.
I'm just wondering if the word power should be amended to authority, because as you've spoken to it, you've used the word authority more often than the word power. To me, it is more of an authority issue than it is a power issue.
I have no objection to changing that word power to authority.
And we're still in paragraph 15?
Yeah.
So I would make a motion to amend the word power to authority in that paragraph.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Brent. Any discussion?
Sorry.
Sorry?
I second it, that's okay.
Oh.
It don't matter.
Well, my
I'll
ear.
second it too.
Brent concedes to the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. The amendment?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Amendment carries. Thank you. Any other discussion on this point while we're at?
Can I just ask one
Let's call the
question?
vote on the original.
Are there any other dive teams in Illinois that get paid? Do we know? Just a question.
Maybe if they're not, maybe they need to address the situation.
Just curious.
Let's call the vote on the original motion, amended motion.
Call the vote.
Yes.
You're going to make me dig in my parliamentary procedure here.
Well, it's an amended motion. We've had several amendments passed.
Right? We're in the middle of discussion. So I think I require a 2/3 vote of the board to call the vote.
Call the vote.
I mean,
Vote called. The vote's been called. All in favor of approving of the draft resolution as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
No.
No.
Noes, raise your hand. Carol, Teresa, Todd. 10. Any other noes? Did I miss? Motion carries as amended. Moving on to item 8, committee reports.
Well, we approved the amendments, but we didn't approve the final.
Sorry. We approved all the amendments. and then
As
we just-
amended, but you didn't go back to the original.
And then we just approved the main motion as amended. Because he called a vote on the main motion as amended.
Well, to be fair, I think that was a terrible way to get out of finishing this discussion. This has been a contentious issue for 7 months. And I don't think that it was worth trying to fast track out of here when there were still some questions to be had.
Item 8, committee reports.
I got a text message today from Steve at the health department with the building update. The metal for the roof will be delivered tomorrow, and they should start the roofing next week. The new AC units and coils have been installed, and the project is on track to be finished at the end of March. They are planning an open house in April to coincide with the Public Health Week. I don't know if that's really committee, but it's an update.
It's a board, is that all? Any other committee updates? Okay. And check, yes.
Maybe. I don't think all of the animal control bills got paid. Am I right, Jessica, that the folder didn't get picked up?
No, none of the rescue.
Yeah. So the bills were paid without all the bills there. We paid the utility bills and the water bill maybe and stuff, but there was a folder that didn't get picked up that was out on the table that didn't get
Public
taken into the
safety.
meeting.
Right.
So there'll be late charges probably on some of the bills.
Don't mind me asking, was it not in the box, or do we know?
They didn't go to finance because they were going to public safety. I figured public safety would pick them up since they were laying right there, but they did not, so.
Okay, so finance didn't have a chance really
No.
to.
So was anybody on public safety informed that there was a folder laying somewhere?
They were there, they got picked up the first time that you met.
I'm just trying to make everybody aware that I don't think all the bills got paid. And I just found out today, so.
I'm just trying to know.
Say, I have operated the meeting, but I was not aware that because we normally don't see those bills for animal control or the or the building or the highway department. They're all looked at by other committees. So
They get paid.
we approved the bills for basically that were in the box that we picked up, that I picked up.
Well, I guess we need to go over what to expect as far as if public safety committee meeting, what their responsibilities are and where things are going to be left for whatever reason, if we're missing bills being paid. What? I mean, I need to know. If somebody can tell me, please tell me.
Is it because of the recess? So they were picked up Thursday, that meeting recessed, and then something happened between Thursday and last night?
I believe they were picked up.
I don't know.
I'm almost positive they were picked up, and then the meeting was recessed, and then they were laying on the table for everybody to walk by, PSC claims. Nobody picked them up, they didn't get looked at when the meeting was reconvened.
On Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to address the highway department. Clay and myself that are on the finance committee are also on the road and bridge, and if those bills, we go through them, and we have started going through them, like the Finance Committee goes through them, so we go through and double check every sheet. But if that is actually added to the Finance Committee instead of the Road and Bridge taking care of it, there would be a lot of questions that Mr. Tappendorf takes care of, as well as Wendy, because there's quite a few questions involved, wouldn't you say, Clay, that can be had? And we would probably add at least another 45 minutes to the Finance Committee meeting if the Finance Committee was to review the claims from Road and Bridge.
Any other committee reports? Moving on. I have no updates as chair. In appointments, I would like to put Sean Martz on Public Safety, Clark Amling on the Budget Committee to replace Lori Nelson. Then in correspondences, we have none. Old business, any old business? Mark?
I don't know if this is old business or not, but I just wanted to extend a thank you to Annette, to Brian, Dane, and his undersheriff Dane, correct? And Michael Tappendorf. We met with Chris Smith, our agent from CERMA, as well as Amos. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I'll botch it, but he was the loss control rep, came down from Chicago and met with us as a group just to discuss some of the things that we could do, focus on to try to help mitigate our losses in the county. And I know Brian's already had emails back and forth with Amos since that meeting, as has Michael. So I just wanted to extend a public thank you to those guys for being willing to participate in that meeting and focusing on the things we can do to improve our safety culture and our claims experience. I want to go on the record again saying CERMA, Counties of Illinois Insurance Risk Management Agency, that is who we are insured with, the cooperative, they do have the ability, if they so choose, to boot us from that program. Every 3 years they get to reassess that and reevaluate it. And for us to remain viable in that program is unbelievably important to the county, because if we get booted from that program, our insurance costs will skyrocket at minimum double, if not at least triple. So it's important, and I really appreciate Brian and Dane and Dan and Michael participating in that meeting and already being engaged with Amos to work on some things. So thank you.
Okay, any other old business? Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of claims. Is there a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
Martha makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Don seconds the motion. Any discussion on the claims as presented?
Claims as presented, can we not add the ones that were overlooked or missed?
Has anybody had a chance to review them, quantify them, or anything of the nature?
I have not. Historically speaking, that's not a large stack of bills that would take an amount of time worth holding our vendors hostage. I don't know if they're readily available or not.
Are they readily available?
I don't have them up here with me. I can go get them.
Mark?
Would this be something we could accomplish? Finance Committee members look at them in a 10-minute recess?
You're not going to have, no, because that's not
Okay.
compliant with ELMA. You can do it like you did the community services bills and go through each one. But there needs to be clarification about who is going to look and approve those public safety bills, because we don't want this to happen again.
Yeah, who's going to pick them
So,
up and take them to the meeting?
I mean, all of the bills are always left on the table outside the clerk's office, and y'all meet at night. And I specifically label the public safety so that you guys know that they're there. But my understanding was public safety would look at those, so that's why they weren't put in with finance. So, but I will run down and get those real quick. There's not that many. Dealing with sheriff's fuel bills, so. Shouldn't take long. You want them or you leave them, Mark? Well, I figured he was gonna say what they were and how much.
So then, are we then void the requirement of 2 initials? That's what we can go through that.
Well, I mean, the full board's gonna approve them, so.
You ready, sir?
Fire away.
Okay. The first bill is Vessi for $50 for fire extinguishers, annual inspection tag, and it, yes, I said $50.
Which department was that?
Animal control. The next one is for the city of Shelbyville, cell phone bill for $42.13. Next one is for trash service, $87 to LRS.
What was the trash service number, please?
I'm sorry, sir?
What was the trash bill?
$87. I would like to pass these to another individual to double check them.
Okay, yeah.
The next one is Chevyville Ace Hardware for $47.92. It's listed as supplies, kitchen bags, cleaner, like mop head, Dawn dish soap, cleaner bowl, electric tape, but that total was $47.92. Next item is Shelby County Sheriff, paid for gasoline, $118 $1.07. And that's for Brad Hudson's usage of fuel for January. That is all the expenses, claims that have been submitted for the animal control.
Laura?
Who signed off on this from animal control?
Angela.
On all of this?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
I'll wait for Ted to double check it in case there's something I didn't see in it. Otherwise, I would like to make a motion to pay the claims for animal control.
Motion to pay the claims for animal control. There's a second.
Got a motion on the floor. Got to amend the motion on the floor or do the other motion.
Right, so we're making an amendment to the main motion.
Yes, sir.
So Mark's making an amendment to the claims to add the animal control bills. Now is there a second? Martha seconds the motion. Any discussion on adding the animal control bills? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Okay.
Thank you, motion carried.
Which one is this from?
That's rescue.
Okay. Rescues, claims, Shelby County Sheriff's Office, fuel, $40.61. It's actually dated for December 19th. I don't have a highlighting on, okay, rescue squad, so this would be an old bill. And then we have a Shelby County Sheriff's Office for fuel, $28.71. The date on it is November 26th. I can't find words on that back sheet. The next claim is for Craig Antenna Services Incorporated. Kenwood handheld radio, $1,718.
How much?
$1,718.
One handheld radio?
Okay, it's for actually 4 of them at $429.50 a piece. That's quite a difference.
What's the date on that?
On this one? Okay. January 19th.
How come we're clear back in November? Why would it's not been paid for that long?
Well, those bills for fuel is from one department to another, correct? That is, the sheriff's department pays the bill for the fuel consumption at the highway department. And then all the departments reimburse the sheriff's department. So it's not exactly a bill, but it is a bill. Should I continue on that?
I would like to amend the original claims to include these claims for the rescue to be paid.
Is there a second? Sonny seconds the motion to include the bill for rescue in the claims. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, is there anything we need to continue or discuss more?
No, I think we're fine, okay.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye, including the rescue bills, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries on that amendment. Is that all the bills, just those two?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll go back to the original motion to approve the bills as amended. Any discussion on the bills as amended? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bay,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Martha Pernhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Nat Martin,
Yes.
Sean Marks,
Yes.
Tad Mayhaw,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Moving on to public body comment. Is there anybody on the sign-up sheet?
Nobody signed up.
So if you're new to our public body comment, it's 5 minutes. Non-yielding, 5 minutes per person. I'll open the floor up to public body comment. Okay.
We are Jim and Sandy Dona. We have lived in Shelby County for over 40 years. Jim was a minister for churches in Coles, Shelby, and Moultrie County for 35 years. He was an EMT and also a school bus driver. I was a child development specialist for Shelby County for 4 years and a teacher at Calvin Herrick Schools for 16 years and also a principal for the Hillsborough School District. Our daughter is Tricia Dona Miller, and we are not here tonight to fight her battles. She's been very capable for a very long time of fighting and winning her own battles. We are here tonight as parents who listened to a tape which was seen and heard by 2,500 people, many of our family, our friends, staff I worked with, teachers, former students, and church members who care about us and our family. Along with us, they were astounded by Ms. Fernhofer's abrasive, inappropriate, and menacing statement stating that she wanted to knock her, Tricia Miller, into the middle of next week. We needed to set the record straight that our daughter did nothing but send in a FOIA request, which is everyone's legal right, and many in this room, including board members, use FOIA very frequently in the city of Windsor and the Windsor School District. I'm sure none of them received the same response our daughter received by Ms. Fernhofer. Why Ms. Fernhofer did not choose to apologize for this faux pas that was heard by so many, we have no clue. When I was a principal for Hillsborough School District, we were mandated by the ISBE to have in place a protocol to follow if a student was bullied or threatened. My question for the chairman to ponder and hopefully reach a conclusion is, what protocol do you have in place for this menacing and hurtful statement, which was unjustly made to a Shelby County resident with utter disregard on how it would affect our community, not just Tricia Dona Miller and her family? Finally, no one better to answer Mrs. Fernhofer's question than her parents. And who in the H, I don't use the bad word because my parents never allowed me to, does she think she is? Well, Ms. Fernhofer, she's someone who genuinely cares about all people. I think for over a year she's attended practically all meetings, even when her 19-year-old son was diagnosed with MS and hospitalized for many days. She simply asked when she came to those meetings for civility and respect and to treat each other with kindness. Wow, scary, right? We could not be prouder and support her 100% along with many in this room tonight. She will make a positive difference in this county. She already has. I thought all board members should want to help everyone in any possible way, no matter who they think they are. I have been a Republican all of my life. Just out of high school, I worked in Springfield for Ray Page for 3 years. What I'm seeing by many Republicans serving in this county and neighboring counties That's not the party I was raised and served. It resembles to me the far left in Washington, D.C. That gives me reason to pause and reflect on the Republican Party locally. My mom used to say, if you can't handle the heat in the kitchen, then probably it's the time to get out of the thing causing you so much frustration. This is just my opinion, but as a proud citizen of the United States and a voting member in Shelby County, I want better than this for my county. So should everyone in Shelby County, whether they're Republican or Democrat. Jim and I could not be prouder of our daughter for standing up for what she believes in. She wants to make a difference in all persons in our county. And that is who she is, Mrs. Bernhaber, a wife, a mom, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a human being, worthy to be treated with respect, even if you don't like her. Aren't we all worthy of that, created in the image of God? The golden rule states, love thy neighbor as thyself. We might all set that as our goal for 2024, and we might begin by looking for good in all people. Thank you for letting us tell you guys tonight who she is and who we are. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Public comment?
So I got to applaud Clay for using that term of cowboy and that resolution through. It, as an old emergency service personnel, if you will, we've always kept hearing the term of area fire departments, and this is what they do in the districts and that. You guys are the county, not a fire district. It's great, we're moving forward, but I also find it very disturbing that there is a lot of a quick pushing. Mr. Mayhall brought up a very good point. It was brought up last night about tabling it. There's a lot of questions in that. I think you guys are micromanaging it a little bit too much. I don't agree with having a plan in place. As far as the chairman has the authority to, if I understood that correctly, has the authority to walk on a scene and shut a scene down? I don't think so. Okay, I misunderstood. Like I said, I'm sitting back here in the back. But you guys put the commander in place. Let the commander pick his assistant commander. That's the administration bill. He's the one that's going to take care of it. Putting trainings in place. It shouldn't be up to the county board to make sure, as he can pick, as Mr. Martz said, you know, you pick an item or whatever and you got 2 or 3 to choose from. It's just a requirement. Once a month, have a training. They have to keep X amount of hours a month, and then every 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, they have to recert for their diet. I mean, it's too much micromanaging. You guys are a county board. You have other business to do to micromanage the dive team. Put the plan in place. Let your dive team administration take care of what needs to be taken care of. For tabling it, there was a lot of questions asked. I asked last night in the public safety meeting, what's the plan in place if a member of the dive team wishes to opt out of getting that payment for whatever reason it may be? We can make all kinds of scenarios, but if I want to join the dive team and I opt out of that, am I covered under the workman's comp? The question could not be asked last night, so I think that should have been tabled, because for multiple reasons, if I wish to opt out, and I'm an elected position, that does play into state statute somewhere, but I want to help out the dive team. Am I going to get hung for drawing wages? Or if for anybody in this room wishes not to draw that for tax purposes, are they still covered with workman's comp? A lot of these fire districts, we keep saying it, they don't get paid. There's multiple fire departments in this county that get 0, and they have workman's comp. How is that? I mean, Sean and I serve together too. Why do we have to put a meeting fee and a call fee? That's more money going out. The dive team is already a low budget. Just make it one fee if that's what your insurance, Gallagher, hold on, son. If that's what your insurance states, make it one fee. How can they tell you that you gotta pay X amount of call and X amount of meeting? Which is more tax dollars going out that don't need to go out. And going back to the administration thing, pick your commander, just like sheriff's elected official, he picks his undersheriff. It's not up to the county board to pick him. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I answer that question?
Yeah.
Mr. Steiner?
Yes, sir.
That question was directly asked today, whether or not one could opt out. The answer was an affirmative no. If the member wanted to donate that back to the county or donate that to their charity of their choice, they absolutely can, but they cannot opt out of the money. Given the scenario that you and I spoke about, there might be a case-by-case basis where we can revisit that to ensure that we get a member and we don't cause that member any problems. So that's to answer your first question.
Can I follow back to that, Bob?
Hang on, go through your.
To the second question, as was pointed out earlier this evening, the firemen are named in the Workers' Compensation Act. So they're different. It's just, you said it yourself, they're different.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
Okay. So if that's impossible, and I can turn around and donate it back to the county, it's a tax deductible or tax free. There's a reason. If somebody has a great job and doesn't want that extra whatever it is, how's that all playing out? The only reason I'm saying that because it may be hard to get volunteers. It's a volunteer service. They're doing it for a reason, not for the money.
No, and even in my experience of the volunteer fees that other departments have paid, no one's doing it for the money by any stretch of imagination, but whether it's $5, $10, $15 amount, that's per meeting or per call or however it works out, there's a tie to it. I didn't know what the tie to it is, now I do, but that's a question for a tax counselor as far as donating it back, donating it to somewhere else. If you incurred a tax obligation, and then you turn around and donate that exact amount to somebody else or to a charity or whatever, you would surely be, setting yourself up for some sort of deduction. But that's up for a tax counselor, not myself. But I don't.
I think it's a very good question to figure out. Because,
anyway.
Yeah.
Public body comment. Public body comment. Right.
Yeah, just a couple things we brought up in public safety the other night. There was a question about how the lease started with the dive shed. There's all kinds of discussion about what actually happened. I'm looking at a board meeting minute from September 10th, 2008. Can't tell you the page, but there's several pages. Most of us probably know who Dick Clark is, very respectable businessman in the community. He was a rescue squad committee chairman. And it says Rescue Squad Committee Chairman Glenn R. Dick Clark stated that Shelby County Community Services were preparing an agreement for the rescue squad and dive team to use the former Holland Masonry building on North Morgan as an equipment storage facility. The agreement provides for the county's responsibility for the building utilities. The motion was made by Mr. Clark to approve the county's responsibility for the Holland Masonry building utilities as presented. Richie Reynolds seconded, all voted aye, and motion carried. They didn't agree to sign a lease. That's why we don't have a lease. Second thing is, I don't believe that Scott Incoff was ever an employee of the county. I don't know that he ever served on a board, was a committee person. So I want to know if, you're saying that was yours the whole time, which I think I just indicated it's not. Wouldn't there have been some sort of a vote to, sign a lease? There would have been some sort of a meeting minute that said, we agreed we're going to vote to sign a lease with that department. You don't have to answer, that's not important. The next thing I want to read is an email. This is dated 7/12/23. And the persons copied on this are Chris Smith from Gallagher. He's our rep that came and spoke to us a while back. Let's see. Andrea Baird. I'm sorry, I can't read part of this. Linda Talarico, Cody, Bobby, Rich, Tim, Cor, Letitia, Jamie Bruner, and then I believe Marcia's District 10-1. It doesn't have a name, but that's close enough. Here's what he said. And I believe this was the afternoon after the dive team got shut down, but I'm not certain on that. I don't have it in front of me. Hi, Martha. Based on your comments below, the dive and rescue squads each have line item budgets within the county budgets that have been approved each year by the county board. With this in mind, the dive and rescue related activities at each squad are sponsored by the county and would be covered by the county's insurance, subject to existing policy terms and conditions. We do ask that you communicate with our team as it relates to a timeline in which both units will be properly established, including board oversight. This should be a priority item for the board. Now, did he say they're not covered? Am I not good with my English? No, he didn't. He did not say that they were not covered. Anytime I call my insurance agent, if I buy a four-wheeler, a truck, a car, a new home, I call and I say, am I covered for this, this, and this? We bought a four-wheeler. Will this cover the neighbor kid if he gets hurt playing on the four-wheeler with the kids? And he says, let me look at the policy. And he'll say, well, your existing limits cover this and this. And if I need some insurance, what does he do? He calls me or emails me back and says, you need to add this, and it costs $12 more a month. I have a real concern with claiming that they're part of our county, and clearly there's never been a vote. That's why there is no lease in there. And who decided, who had the infinite wisdom to decide that a obviously private agency that you argued had not been properly formed agents, that you could just take over their equipment and their building? You don't have a lease with community services. You do not dictate policy to them. This is about legalities. If there was never a board vote to sign a lease and there's no lease on file with your name on it, it's not your lease. That's just how it works in the real world.
Martha.
The key sentence in that email that you read, Christine, is subject to policy terms and conditions. And as we've established tonight, there was not workers' compensation coverage based on the workers' compensation statute. We've done that properly tonight by putting this language into the resolution. So, again, very, very important sentence. Subject to policy terms and conditions. In that very, very lengthy thread, that is the last of a multitude of emails, and there is one within that thread that came from, Sonny, help me out. Do you remember, what's the name of that law firm?
Ansel Blank.
Ansel Blank, thank you. There's, yes, if you go through that entire thread, that email from the gentleman at Ansel Blank, senior counsel, is also extremely important because he refers to the work comp statute. I believe that email refers to being a paid or non-paid volunteer, and covered it. Whatever the language is in it, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't speak it verbatim, but I can say that that particular email and that whole thread was of huge concern. So reading one email out loud out of a thread that is extremely long with multiple people being added at different times, again, I'm just going to go back to subject to policy terms and conditions, and as has been discussed at length here tonight, without this resolution, without paying those members and making them a paid volunteer, there's an extremely strong likelihood that they would not have been covered.
Public body comment? Public body comment. Yes.
Yes. I want to thank, of course, my parents for coming. I kind of have been trying to keep them out of this for the last year. They haven't come because we lived through a really tough experience ourselves, all of us, together. That's why I started originally claiming, if you remember all my comments about humanity, treating each other with respect, do unto others as you would do unto you. That was why I originally came. Because our lives were destroyed. Destroyed. My 75-year-old dad, who was a minister, an EMT, my mom who had to watch, my children who had to watch. I've filed several police reports because my home was under attack. And then I had to hear that. There's no need for that. People could agree to disagree, and we need to relearn that. Because just because we might not agree on one thing, maybe we agree on 5 others, but you never give people the chance to find out. You just automatically say, I'm done with them because we can't agree here. I was listening to the comments tonight, coming, I believe it was from Mr. Brown, talking, and he said that he believed Austin's intention was to smear the county board. And I appreciate Mr. Mayhall for trying to clarify that he did not believe that at all. Why do we have to accuse and throw all kinds of accusations out left and right? You know, it's one thing to debate on a topic all day long. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that's happened here. I don't agree with not having a state's attorney that no one saw for 7 months, an assistant state's attorney, being paid $9,000 a month. Not 7 months, I'm sorry, 7 weeks. Let me clarify that. 7 weeks. I don't agree with that. And I don't see anybody asking questions, and I don't see you going into executive session to discuss this. I sent a FOIA asking for the policy for the state's attorney's office on sick leave, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm not seeing any clarification coming from anybody on that. On sick leave, on all of that. That's a lot of money. And you know, if we're paying out $9,000 as taxpayers, you want to know that the person's doing the job. And if no one sees them doing the job, how do you know they're doing the job in 7 weeks? Now, somebody mentioned FMLA. No one's eligible for FMLA there because you have to be employed for a year to be able to qualify for FMLA. There's things you have to, and then on payroll, there's no sick time wrote out, none. So why is there no concern about that? I don't understand. You talk about oversight. We sat and listened in animal control about a $50 training, but we're talking $9,000 here. And no one's upset about that? It's just hypocritical. Hypocritical. And then the Constitution. You don't want to farm the farm because it's not constitutional. Is our rescue squad running legally through the county? If you're going to uphold the laws, you uphold all the laws. You don't pick and choose which you decide is constitutional and not constitutional. If the rescue squad is not running constitutionally, but that's why we're not farming the farm because you're following the Constitution, let's tell each other the truth. Can you answer me, Mr. Ross? Is the rescue squad running legally, or is it only Sangamon County that fix was made for? Can you say yes or no, legal or not? Okay, and there's my answer. Because I know the answer. So when you stand up and you talk about farming the farm, you're not going to, because we follow the Constitution. You need to get honest with yourself. You know, it all ties into this local Republican, Democrat. Let's just be human beings, okay? Be human beings to each other. Treat people with some common decency. Common decency. It's gone out the window. I do have a right to question why we're spending out $9,000. I do have a right to question things and ask questions. I have a right to comment on whatever social media page I want. And then to turn around and go after the public commenters. You know who did that? The Biden administration put people on a watch list, school board, people that were going to school boards. So my mom's right. You are acting like the radical left when you're going after public commenters like that. Are we on a watch list too for our comments? Have you put us on one? Thank you.
Public body comment.
Yeah, Jake Cole. I think Sonny should probably give us the names of some other dive teams that are being paid, because I can't find any dive team in Central or Southern Illinois that's being paid. So maybe Sonny needs to explain all this to them, that they can't do this And what they're doing is completely wrong. I believe Sonny said he couldn't understand why we didn't have a mutual agreement with the state police and the dive team. No one has one with them. So, you know, we'd still have a dive team if it wasn't for Sonny Ruff. So now he wants to negotiate 7 months later and try to negotiate with the team. I believe, Sonny, why didn't you try to negotiate with the team back then instead of asking them to stand down? Because that's what you did, and they stood down, and you should have been satisfied because you got what you asked for.
Public body comment? Go ahead.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. I'm Josh Bain. I spent 10 years on the dive team, and I can appreciate what you're trying to do as far as get this all put back together and get divers in the water. I don't know how many applicants you've got, but you're not going to stand up, taking applications, and you're not going to stand up a dive team in the next 5 years, 6 years. A dive team it's more than a team, it's a family. You're not going to take 6, 8, 9, 10 random guys off the street, go send them to training, and put one of those guys at the bottom of the lake with a safety diver and a rope tender that he doesn't know. I mean, we train for hours with the same people, the same group of people. I've been to the bottom of the lake with Scott Inkoff and Scott Jeffson and Austin Pritchard and pulled multiple people off the bottom of the lake. And nobody in their right mind would gear up and go to the bottom of the lake if they didn't know and trust that guy on the other end of the rope, or the guy sitting at the top of the water that's waiting to come get you if bad things happen. I hope you stand up the dive team. I hope they all come back and go work, but I'm just telling you point blank, you can't stand one up in the next 5 years. You can't get a group of guys to trust each other enough, that much, to go to the bottom of the lake and do the things that they do in the places they do it. Because they can't trust. As much as you want to trust the guy on the other end of the rope or the guy at the top of the water that's going to come get you and save you, you can't. We train hours and hours and hours in order to trust the person that's at the other end of this deal. And I'm telling you, you can't take a half a dozen or a dozen guys, random guys, and put them together and stand up a team that did what those guys did. You can't do it. I hope you do, but you screwed up. Thank you.
Public body comment.
Well, seeing we're going to respect, when I came home from the last meeting last week, my husband set me down, rewound the thing on the meeting, and we have a man sucking a sucker that you can actually hear. We have all the men on the board with hats on. Somebody got oathed in with a hat on, and it's nothing against you. I just think there should be a little bit more respect because you are our county representatives. And I feel there should be more respect. And as to tonight, I'm sorry, Mr. Bennett, but when you called him an individual, he is on the board with you. He has a name. His name is Ted. And you said, I'm going to hand this to an individual. Now see, why can't you all call each other by first names and just get along? Please, just get along.
Here, I'll pause your time. I'd like to make a point to that.
Okay.
And that is, there's times when I don't remember half of these members' names. So sometimes the fastest thing that comes off the top of your head is the member, ranking member, individual, whoever. So I'll resume your time. Go ahead. Are you finished?
Oh, I'm,
Okay. Public body comment. Lee.
I have one question. Does the rescue squad have workers' comp right now? Are they under workers' comp? I think that was a question last night in public safety, that Sonny said that rescue squad is not part of public safety, which we thought they were, so he couldn't answer that for us. So somebody that's over the rescue squad, can they tell us if the rescue squad has workers' comp right now?
I can attempt an answer as
Definitely on a different action.
Mr. Mayall and I have heard some of the same language, and it is, to say that it is blurry is an understatement, and the understanding is that SERMA understands we are actively, aggressively working to solve the issue. We are keeping them apprised of every step that is made, and there's not an issue at this time that warrants grave concern.
So we don't know if they're under workers' comp then? I don't want the rescue squad shut down. I just want to make sure they're good to go so this doesn't ever happen to them. And I know that's a question a lot of people have asked, and I'm on live feed and there's questions coming through, and that's one that people are asking me to ask.
My understanding is they are. My understanding is they are, and part of that understanding comes from a previous incident where our workers' compensation did pay them. Because again, it's two different entities, it's two different things, and things are named this and things are named that, and my understanding is they are. Now, if anyone has any different understanding than that, then that needs to be brought to the attention of the board so that we can figure that out.
Well, then I'll do that now, because in my conversations today, rescue was not one of the entities listed by Mr. Smith. And we didn't go into the details because my scope was mostly on dive, but he said it strongly needs to be looked at because there's considerations that they may not be covered. And so...
Do the rescue squad workers, do they get paid? Or is that straight volunteer? Does anybody know that either?
They're volunteers, straight volunteers. They do not receive compensation.
So why can't the dive team do the same as the rescue squad then?
Belina, I'm working on it. That's all I can tell you.
First place.
Okay, well, just off topic, I didn't know that you even served on the dive team ever until last night. Can you tell me how long you served on the dive team?
You're taxing my memory, but it was not long, I can assure you that. I cannot.
Like 1 call, 2 calls, 1 month is what we've been told. You've been went to
Is
one
it
meeting.
relevant?
No, kind of it is. You served on the dive team, you have experience, so it kind of is.
Well, that's public record. I'll go find that for you.
Appreciate that. I'm done.
Did you say that the rescue squad has had a work comp claim paid out? Well, that answers that question right there. If they're not covered, they're not going to pay.
But is that a gray area, Brent? I mean,
if they paid out once, how's it a gray area? I mean,
do the sheets and
my
that's
insurance has
everybody's
never paid me and then say, hey, you ain't got insurance.
I'm not.
I would say if they paid once, that's pretty much a precedent of they're covered. I don't know why they'd pay once and then all of a sudden turn around and say, you're not covered. I mean...
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized? Yep. The issue of the rescue squad is of significant concern. It is of significant issue, and actions are underway to remedy the situation wholly. As soon as that information can be released, I promise you, I will let this board know immediately.
Public body comment. Public body comment? Public body, Teresa.
Okay. A year ago, when this board came to be, as we are now, and we're sworn in, I stood up and said, I am the only Democrat on this board, and I hope that we can work together to get things accomplished. I am on the Finance Committee, I'm on the Public Safety Committee. I have been treated with so much disrespect by the Public Safety Committee chairman. As of lately, I left the meeting. I'm not proud that I had to walk out of that meeting, but that man, all I have to do is start to say something, and he just gets, you can just tell by the expressions on his face, he's just mad. And irritated is a good word for it. And he got that way last night, and everybody got to watch it that was watching it live on the YouTube. And all I was trying to do was ask questions. Nobody that was sitting there, the other members of that committee, stood up for me, said anything about, you need to let her talk. He just kept saying, point of order, point of order. And I didn't know what he was trying to tell me. But I think he was trying to tell me to sit down and shut up, is what I think he was trying to tell me. And I had questions because Sonny's the one that brought up about the insurance and stuff while that meeting was going on. So, I don't know, maybe Mr. Chairman, you need to take me off public safety.
No.
Because we can't, I can't be treated that way by people. I don't treat anybody that way. He didn't recess the first meeting right, and then we go back in, and I explained to him that he needed to review Robert's Rules of Order because the Safety Committee has a whole 2 pages of rules to go by, and Robert's Rules is on that. And he did not follow his own rules. So, I don't know what the answers are. I'm not going to resign my position on this board, and I am running again. So you're not going to get rid of me. But I deserve respect when I sit there. I don't cause problems. I ask questions just like I do in this meeting. And I don't deserve to be treated the way that I am being treated. I walked into a meeting last Monday over here across the street, whichever way it is, and was told it was a private meeting. Well, I said, as a board member, I can't come in here. And I was told, no, it's a closed meeting. I said, as a board member, I can't come in here to this meeting and sit in that chair and listen to what's going on. But that person who's an employee that works in that office sat there and listened to the whole meeting that wasn't a board member or anything else. It was an employee of the county. I sat down for the rest of the meeting and did not leave. I don't need to be treated that way. I was told when I came on this board by the former board members and stuff, I could go to any meeting and watch what goes on. I could go to finance and look at the bills. I couldn't sign them and stuff, but I went to a lot of meetings to see how things operated. I got put on FOP when Gary Patterson got hurt and stuff. I've been to a lot of meetings. I don't deserve to be treated the way I've been treated. I've got other things going on, and everybody in this room knows what's going on, and I've got to go back to court on the 26th. I don't appreciate that because I think it came within this committee to start that crap. But I haven't backed down from that one either. So that will be resolved. But I deserve more respect than what I have been getting.
Public body comment. Public body comment? Public body comment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Sonny makes a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Lori. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you.